The Tiafoe family is the American dream. Ever since his rise to tennis superstardom, the story of Francis Tiafoe has been told all across the globe. After escaping the civil war in Sierra Leone, the Tiafoes immigrated to Maryland, where they gave birth to their son Francis in 1998. The family lived in a spare office of the Junior Tennis Champion Center, which is where their father, Francis Sr., worked as a custodian. Francis was exposed to tennis as soon as he could walk, and at the age of 7, a local coach saw his talent and began to train him. Now, over 20 years later, Tiafoe is one of the biggest faces in the tennis world. He's currently ranked number 10 in the entire world, with wins over some of the greatest to ever play the game. He's made nearly $9 million in career earnings at just 25 years old. Francis Tiafoe's story is one of triumph and success against all of the odds. It's also a complete outlier. As of 2022, the cost of raising a child is just short of $300,000 until age 18. This includes everything from food to clothing to the sports teams they participate in and anything in between. Most parents will have their kids try out Little League as a kid or track in high school, often at the cost of just a bat or a hoop. That's the way most sports are for these kids. You're able to experiment across several games, seeing which ones you like the best, and if you happen to get good at any of them, only then will your parents spend the money. Well, every sport except tennis. Do you remember that figure I just gave you about raising a child? Well, if you want to raise your child to be a tennis pro, you'll have to nearly double that. The British Lawn Tennis Association estimates that it costs roughly $385,000 to train a tennis player from the ages of 5 to 18. A study recently conducted across several serious junior-level families saw this number go even higher, with various other costs including physical therapy, education, tournament fees, and much more. To become a professional tennis player requires you to dedicate your life to the sport at a very early age. You need court time, coaches, facilities, equipment, and tournament fees every year if you want any chance at all to be successful. Walter Giacometti, director at Tiger Tennis Academy, knows this better than most, seeing firsthand just how much these families will spend on this sport every single year.
Tennis is absolutely so. Tennis is not cheap. It's you need some funds to invest in it, and you go to I don't know the pricing, but I think if you go into a baseball team or on a soccer team, it's probably half the price. Tennis courts are expensive. The indoor tennis courts, especially here in New York during the winter, they're expensive with the heat and everything. It's just gone through the roof. So the time for the court is expensive. As a business owner, to rent the court is expensive. And you just, the coach costs anywhere from $30 to $50 to $60 an hour, depending on the level of the coach. So between those two costs and to get kids on the court, you're not putting 25 kids on a court. At max, you're putting 6 or 8 kids on a court, and you have to make it that hour.
A big factor of these costs is just how expensive it is to maintain the facilities. Giacometti says that since tennis programs are run year-round, the directors need the courts to be in peak condition despite whatever weather is thrown at them. The price point reflects this. This past winter, hourly rates in New York City for a court were as high as $180. To avoid this, parents will sometimes move their families to warmer, southern climates if they're serious about training. Most of the best coaches in this country reside in Florida and the Southeast region to lower the costs of the facilities. However, since they are the best in the business, they're still able to charge an exorbitant rate for their prices. Let's look at the Junior Tennis Champion Center, for example, where the Tiafoe family was raised. Private lessons at this facility now start at $89 an hour for a staff associate to train you, and that price only goes up the more reputable the coach is. These costs are daunting on their own, but the real price point simply comes from the frequency and commitment to the sport. Giacometti estimates that for an aspiring young player, you have to take lessons multiple times a week and practice just as much in order to even have a chance at going pro. Taylor Fritz, another highly ranked American player, started his playing career before he could even speak, as his parents started him in training when he was just 2 years old. Stephen Capo knows this all too well from both perspectives. He is a former nationally ranked junior, as well as a Division I tennis player. Capo now runs the Strand Tennis Center in New Jersey, where he runs some of the same private lessons he would take as a child. Many former players go into the coaching route, and those like Capo see firsthand just how much time and effort it takes to go pro.
Probably got my first lesson at 6th grade, but it's also, and I tell everybody, it's not the lesson, it's how much work you're going to put on the outside. I just wanted to play all the time. so I bothered people to play. I went to clubs to play. Then I could ride my bike to go to a local wall. The problem is there's not many walls around. Like a wall is great to hit off of, and you need to do that a lot. You need repetition. So I'd say I was about. We had a tennis court in our park that I could walk to. I was probably about 7, 8 years old walking there. And then I would just hit on the back of the wall when I was 7 or 8. And then probably about 10 or 11, I had my first lesson, and then I just played all the time.
The world of junior tenors is also a brutal, unforgiving path. Just because you spend the money, nothing is guaranteed. Players flame out in the junior circuit and college tennis all the time. And even if you do go pro, there isn't that much of a chance you earn enough to make a career in the first place. This begs the question, what will it take for tennis to be more accessible? Is this a sport that is increasingly competitive and expensive? It becomes less likely that things will change. Is it possible for the cost of coaching to go down? What about tournaments, training facilities, or anything else? Let's find out. First, we have to look at the story of another American tennis player. This one is named Tristan Boyer. He was a ranked junior and a Division I player for Stanford, one of the top colleges in the country. He proved himself to be one of the best of the best. He made it to the ATP professional circuit and is competing against some of the best players in the world. Through the first 6 months of the season, that has earned him less than $10,000. If tennis is going to see any real change at any level in the sport, the ability for those lower-ranked players to make an actual career out of tennis must be changed. Only the top 200 players in the world have currently owned over $100,000 for the year, which at that point is just barely enough to pay for your coaching staff for the entire year. This figure goes even lower in women's tennis, where the prize pools are generally lower and only the top 150 players have earned a 6-digit salary thus far. While Grand Slams will still typically see millions of dollars in prize money for the top players, some of the lower-end challenger tournaments will hardly sniff that. These tournaments are designed for upcoming younger players that have a severe lack of funding that makes it incredibly difficult for them to sustain a career. Losing round 1 of the 2023 French Open came with a $74,881 purse for anyone who lost in that round. The entire prize pool for a Canberra challenger was $400,000. The winner of the tournament, Juan Manuel Fernanduro, netted just over $5,000. Reworking the prize pool system is one of the best options current tennis has for making its game more accessible at all levels. If even just a few hundred more players are able to make a living out of tennis, it could have a massive impact on the game at all levels. Coaches will be more inclined to utilize the revenue sharing concept that is normally reserved for the Williams and Tiafos of the world, which could lead to lower prices across the board for all coaches. At the end of the day, tennis is a competition. Sure, it's a match between two opponents, but the entire process of getting to the top might be even tougher. Coaches compete to stick out from the others, parents compete to outspend the other families on those better coaches, and the kids compete just to make it through these grueling programs. There is no way to remove this competitiveness from the sport without robbing its soul entirely. Even if the prices were suddenly magically reduced in half, simple supply and demand would inflate that in no time. What we can do is try to make the prize pools more balanced, so even that if you don't turn into a Novak Djokovic, you're still able to call this great game a career and provide a return on investment for that $385,000 your family spent on you. Otherwise, we may never see a story like Francis Tiafoe's again.
First sets to 1, 6-4, 4-6, 6-4, 6-3.
Feel it, kid.